to female, to be Harper. She and Will know each other through working at SNL. While Andrew's team, she had worked from 1995 to 2008 and was the head writer at SNL from 2004 to 2008. Now, I know we do this, and by we, I mean me, not you so much. Oh, but SNL, right? We kind of do that. No matter the state of the program, in the entertainment industry, head writer at SNL is still something. It's an achievement. You did something. I'm sorry. I don't care what era, what thing. As much as I don't like this, what you don't like, new show, not as good, Sandler Days Best stuff, what, doesn't matter. Head writer at SNL is something, right? So they were friends because they had worked together quite a bit. Andrew has transitioned, now known as Harper. Enter the new documentary, Will and Harper. Harper kind of comes out to him, fills Will in on what's happening. Going to live now as a trans woman. And they decide to do, I guess, a little bit of a road trip. This is what IMDb says about Will and Harper. In this intimate portrayal of friendship, transition, in America, Will Ferrell and his close friend of 30 years decide to go on a cross-country road trip to explore a new chapter in their relationship. Now, first and foremost, what I'll say is, Will Ferrell being the person who's like, yeah, no big deal, let's get in the car, let's talk about it a little bit, and let's make content out of it to get paid, is the least surprising thing I have ever heard in my entire life. I'm not necessarily surprised people in the arts are a little bit more open to at least like, all right, I'll hear you out. Like, at least bare minimum. I'm not surprised by that. And, you know, they had worked together on some pretty legendary stuff, and you're friends of 30 years, it's awkward, and I gotta be honest with you. It would be awkward, for sure. And again, awkward doesn't mean evil, doesn't mean get off the planet, doesn't mean any of this stuff. It's just, you know, right? Words have been dragged to the far end of the earth. It would be awkward. I gotta admit, like, I'd like to think, and I'll go further and say, I hope I'm the person who gets in the car. Right? It's like, all right, we're going to go on a road trip, we're going to talk about it. I've known you 30 years, right, I'll hear you. I mean, I've said this before just about what my job is. The amount of curiosity you need in order to do this, I believe, and all well, would get you in the car alone. Now, I will stop here and say, is that friendship, though? Is what I just said friendship? Is my curiosity, or is like, notice, it wasn't the first thing I've, like, known you 30 years, I have to support my friend. I was like, nah, I'm a little curious here. Move over, I'll drive. First leg's on me. Nah, you just relax. Mind easy, let it flow, right? I need to hear stuff. And Will kind of talks about that. He's like, look, man, 6 hours a day in a car, he's like, the amount of places we go, the depths we go. So, of course, now, like I said, this is the agenda, and this is, you know, Hollywood's coming for you, and they want all this stuff, including here locally, this content. Not at one of my pages or anything like that, but at cantonrep.com I saw this. Now, this person has messaged in to me before, I believe no longer does, because I found the thing that he didn't like and so can't like me ever again. But this is the point here. Discussing what our society has come to, they say. Ryan does. They're still saying folks can't eat magic mushrooms, a naturally occurring substance, but get unnatural cosmetic surgery and it's totally fine. Not to mention we're encouraging children or those under the 18 to get such surgeries. They're not mature enough to vote, smoke, or drink, but let's let them irreversibly alter their gender. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, you don't. More people should, but you don't. Right? You would have led with the kid. Magic mushrooms was the phrase where I was like, okay, opinion invalidated, right? There was a little bit of that. Now look, I'm selfish. And I said selfishly about legalizing marijuana. I said, I'm looking the other way on some stuff that's going to be bad just because of how selfish I am about this. Admitted that. That's a selfish outlook. And conflating two issues that have nothing to do with one another just so you could say, I want to be able to trip balls when I get home from a job I don't like, And by the way, this is also super weird. We should probably keep our eyes on that. Right? That's essentially what that person said. I don't necessarily have an issue with Netflix putting the thing on the service, because they kind of can't win. Meaning, if they don't post it, they're evil. Secretly, they're this. They're MAGA. They want them to win. Right? There's that. Put it on. Oh my God. Can't believe you're going to host this. And see it is. It's a more agenda. And my kids are this. And you're not necessarily wrong. I understand. Keeping the world away from your kids, honestly, when all you're equipped with is essentially a chair and a whip, I don't know how you're doing it. I can understand some of that. But it is a streaming service based on content. It's gonna be filled with some things I like, some things I don't necessarily. I'm not even saying I don't not like this, because I will just do what you know what it is? I will do with Netflix what I have begged people to do with the radio since I got into it, which is the Carlin thing. George Carlin famously once said about, dude, if somebody who didn't like what they heard on Howard Stern or something, and George Carlin famously said, whatever, the point remains. It's on Netflix. Doesn't mean I have to be watching it. And like I said, friendship or not, I know my curiosity gets me in that car.
The Stansberry Show.
Weird, lame, gross, dumb, freak, loser, perv, toothy.
On Rock 106.9.
I saw Christopherson has passed away. That guy, he had kind of done it all, right? Actor, singer, a lot of careers in there. We talked legendary voices not that long ago on the show. It was about a month, maybe a little longer. And his name came up more than a few times. Did have a legendary voice. People say the celebrity death thing will happen in threes. Now, I've only seen one outlet report this. John Ashton passed away too, actor. Most people wouldn't know John by his birth name. You would know him as Detective Taggart. I'm hesitant here because, like I said, I've only seen one outlet say anything. I think I'm saying the right thing, because I could swear John Ashton had already died. The guy who played Taggart, again, in the Beverly Hills Cop movie. By the way, that's how good that guy was at that role. I didn't have to look up that name. It's like he was Detective Taggart. That's his name, right? Like he nailed that. But I saw NBC in Columbus saying he passed away. Normally people say in threes. Now I wonder if this is rude, impolite, if you will, but people will say, well, is he really a big enough celebrity to kind of fit in, the world of three? I guess we'll see there. But Chris Christopherson, sure enough, has passed away. So yesterday did not go the Browns' way at all. Not at all. Deshaun Watson started to look a little bit better. That interception wasn't on him at all. That's on Amari Cooper. Then you get the mental error with Amari Cooper and the penalty. Then, honestly, you know me. You guys know. If you listen to this show for any length period of time, I hate blame the ref guy. Honestly, that call taking that touchdown off that board in that moment yesterday, I was like, oh, that felt like you don't do that. Now, making the Browns' problems worse, Joe Flacco winning a game in the NFL yesterday at the quarterback position. Okay, fine, forget him. Hey, you don't necessarily sign a guy older than Stansberry to get back out. Okay, fine, fair enough. Mayfield looking pretty good, though. And he did. Now, last week he didn't. Yesterday he did. And it's a what have you done for me in the last 6 minutes world. Baker Mayfield played pretty well yesterday. 3 touchdowns. He was one of the passing leaders, right? Over 300 yards. Looking pretty good. I know. You wanted him out. What the hell are you yelling at us for? Well, I'm not yelling at anybody. I'm mentioning it. There are about 300 guys who are like, you'd be afraid, right? All that kind of stuff. I'm also mentioning it because I can have any opinion I want. I can be as right or as wrong as I want about any opinion I hold, quarterback, offensive lineman, coaching staff, what have you. And my job mostly will not be decided on those opinions. Because with those opinions comes zero ability to do anything. But the general manager, your coach, you may be in for a general manager change. I don't always love that because it's like instability again. Now, I'm not even calling for it. I'm saying these are the types of decisions that happens when things like this happen. But okay, you were saber rattling. You were on my office door, rapping those knuckles, knocking, telling me we gotta go, we gotta do, we gotta. And I maintain that what he has in Tampa is a coach who needs Mayfield's going to thrive under. Also, I think having the baby, the wife being in the league a little while longer, her, what, 5th NFL market? All right, Bake, I'm kind of done now, kid, right? Can we put it away a little? Can we kind of, right? So, like, you were going to have to wait. Now, the problem is that they didn't want to wait. Well, what the hell's the difference? You might as well have waited. You're not necessarily wrong. Dan Orlovsky, ESPN, tweeted yesterday, if Baker Mayfield hadn't been moved from the Cleveland Browns, what he said is if they had kept Baker Mayfield, I believe is what he said, had they kept Baker Mayfield, they would be the Minnesota Vikings. His point is the Minnesota Vikings are 4-0 with Sam Darnold, another quarterback people gave up on. Multiple opportunities, okay, now you found a fit, expectations not necessarily as high as they once were, not necessarily he's the number one pick, 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 right? And like now that all of a sudden, okay, all right, a little bit of the breather, yeah. Change of scenery also has helped. I can tell you, having worked at more than one radio station, environment matters, who you work for matters, how you're coached absolutely matters, and how you're coached by somebody who's really good at what they do might not be as successful as somebody else who's coached by, right? I mean, all of that can matter. But it's better for you, the Cleveland Browns organization, when Baker Mayfield gives you the game last week where he looked like he had no business being on a professional football field. But sure enough, he came back yesterday and gave you the A+, which was always my concern about Baker. I didn't like the A+, C-. Just give me the B+ player you really are every single week, Sam Darnold, and we can win a bunch of games. Minnesota Vikings. By the way, I wanted to draft Sam Darnold over Baker Mayfield.
The Stansberry Show.
Okay, someone woke up on the wrong side of bed this morning.
On Rock 106.9.
You know, I think I'm gonna have the radio station change that imaging piece. He was the most hated man in Ohio until Deshaun came along. People unhappy with that performance yesterday. Now, that's my bigger problem with yesterday overall, is that I don't think you could place it all. I wish we were looking at it as a simply, oh, dude, he's got to go. Because then it's just money. You moved off a quarterback, bad move. Okay, all right, whatever. Just figure it out, move on, and, rub the dirt in the wound and kind of just go forward, right? I don't think it's as simple as that. 10 points in today's NFL is not a lot. Okay, it's not. But you had a 10-point lead with this defense that everybody, myself included, tells everybody, ooh, so big, so scary. Ooh, so big, so scary. Yes, there's some injuries there too. Yes, okay. But I mean, come on, 3rd and 9 on the ground and you're giving it up? I'm sorry, what? That's not a 4 issue. Well, they don't like her. All right. I'm sorry. They like themselves, right? They like having good film to put on tape to try to get themselves out of a situation they don't want to be in because they hate him, right? There would at least be some of that. There's also, you just get beat on some plays. I don't care how good you are, no matter who you are, you're going to get beat. LT got beat on plays, right? It happens. Okay, all right, fair enough. But, like, a defense is supposed to be a hell of a lot scarier than it looked yesterday. They played better on the road last year than they did at home, for crying out loud. So there was that. The missed extra point. You knew it was coming back to haunt you late in the game. You knew it. Because you've watched how many Browns games in your life? Enough to know it was going to come back and haunt you. And it did. Because in that situation yesterday, you don't have to go for it on 4th down. You can kick the field goal, tie the game, and then, take your chance and see what happens. Yes, you'd rather get the touchdown. You'd rather win $245 million for a quarterback. Yes. So let's talk about that. Deshaun, my man, if you're not going to be in a position to kick the field goal, and you know that you're not, come hell or high water, what's your only responsibility that you have to make sure you do in that moment? Let go of the damn football. I'll take the interception in the end zone over what happens if he throws it, I wonder. I'll take the interception in the end zone. I know what everybody's thinking. Oh, buddy, you're in here killing him about the fact that he threw a pick. You're right. You're right. At least he threw it. That was bad. The thing is the offensive line's bad, yes, and there's pressure, yes, all of that is true. It was true all game, and yes, all of that. But he looked more than twice. And at that point, it's like, at least throw it, dude. Right? Like, at least throw it! It was like your buddy on the tee box who takes like 9 minutes to get ready to tee off, me. Like that, dude. Like, it's like, dude, just hit it, man. Nothing. What's the worst? The worst thing that can happen is you throw the pick. That's the worst thing. Nobody dies, bro. Like, literally, it's not an operating table. You gotta throw the football. That was maddening yesterday. They should have been in a position to where you can kick the field goal, tie the game, and then take your chances. They should have been in that position. They weren't because of a missed extra point. They had a touchdown taken off the board, I believe, by the refs. That felt like a ticky-tacky call there. You guys know I hate blame the ref guy. Hate blame the ref guy. Can't say it. But that was, what are we doing here? What are we doing? All of a sudden, 1-3, tied with the Bengals for that record. Don't look now. Ravens looked pretty good in prime time last night. And the Steelers, now at 3-1 with a game yesterday. I don't know if you can say should have won it. Could have. Could have won it. Season over? I hope not. I hope not. Tough now, though. More than a few. That this team, you can never pencil in wins. You could have had Brady at his height. It would have screwed it up. I don't buy in curses. I don't buy that. Karma? I don't know. I'd like to think that if I do decent things, that I'd like to think that the world would reciprocate. But like in football wins, like so, like I don't know if we can go. I don't buy curses, right? I don't buy that. I don't buy that if you just cut them loose because of the off-the-field issues, all of a sudden the sun shines in Cleveland and you find your way to a bunch of... I don't buy that. I don't. I also think people need to remember how quiet that locker room was when they let Baker Mayfield go. Because I think that speaks real loud. Fans been saying, "Falls on you." The players were like, yeah, it kind of sucks to be Baker. Baker may be a different man today. That's possible. I've seen it with radio people. I've seen it with my... Right? That may be a huge, huge part of it. Tough, though. When you're watching them be that successful. And you move off. It's tough. But that locker room was real quiet when they moved off. You know what makes that sound crazy? Chicago Bears players with the #1 pick, getting a quarterback, people are telling you, transformational, #1, gonna be this, gonna be the next guy, gonna water. Chicago Bears players were coming out and going, we're moving off of Justin Fields? What the hell for? Not a single thing in an NFL game in Chicago ever made you think, why are you moving off of Justin Fields? Players were like, what the hell are we doing? Go back to when the Browns moved off of Baker Mayfield. Players were like, all right, man, it's been real. See you around 6. The
Stansberry Show.
Every time I see him, I hear circus music.
On Rock 106.9.
9 a.m. this morning, let's rock the bank together. I'll pass out that first $1,000 keyword. Get your week started in the right direction. Mostly been doing a post-mortem on the Browns game yesterday. Not their finest work. The offensive line woes continue. I said it earlier this morning. I think I'm a little bit right about it. This will sound like I'm trying to bail Deshaun Watson out. I'm not, but it is just a reality. You lost Bill Callahan, an offensive line coach, to the Titans. He went and joined his son's coaching staff. I understand why a guy goes and does that, right? But ask Tom Brady why he's holding as many championship rings as he is. And the name he's going to use is a name ESPN and Fox Sports never use. Dante Scarnecchia. And Dante Scarnecchia was the offensive line coach the entire run for Brady's career when he was running hardware in New England. And by entire, I'm using a little hyperbole, it was most. Consistency. That position matters. It's not sexy. There's a reason why the news talks about murder versus, other things. It's kind of one of those issues where it's like, dude, this might be a bigger problem, but it's not a sexy problem. But that's a huge issue. Because even with the injuries, if you have Bill Callahan, this might be a lot of optimism out of me here. He can get those reserves, those backups coached up a little bit better. Coaching matters, right? Absolutely. I've been doing my job a long time. Long time. They still have people who are very good at it, who sit down with you every once in a while and be like, all right, let's listen to this, because this was really good. But Dan, come on, you're better than this. Because you got to get coached up every now and again. Not everybody loves it, and how you do it and how that happens with you will matter, and how you respond to it will matter, right? Again, some people want to make the Baker Mayfield Cleveland Browns thing. He's increased it. I think the wife and the kid probably helped, and I think it was the wife like, Fifth City, Bake, I'm kind of done. Look around. This is the Bucks. Nobody's to just keep your mouth shut. I think there's a lot of things that went into that. God bless him. God bless him. He's pushing the Buckeyes into the room for the Browns to be, forget winners, competent. So I don't know about that. I don't know about that. For its simple reasons, and if anything, was supposed to at least make it to where you didn't have to talk about the quarterbacks you used to have. And one of the worst arguments they ever used is he was immature. I kept saying that, right? Then what they went and did personality-wise was a little woof, right? Woof. The bigger problem for me is I don't think you can look at yesterday and go, it's all biggest. Well, it might still be the big. And I don't buy the simply they hate him so much nobody's playing. You just gotta, after criticizing the media earlier this week, and then the mental penalty that pulls another playback. I mean, it's just players when they don't do their jobs is because of the off-the-field issues. And then if that's the thing, if quarterbacks can't be quarterbacks in the moment of being a quarterback because of what has happened, then they can't be quarterbacks. Then let make that the standard and let's move on from there. But it ain't the standard, and it won't be tomorrow either, and we kind of know it. So I'm not going to go overboard when he's screaming at dudes like, hey, will you turn around and look at this 400-pound man who is coming to lay on top of me, please? Can you look at him at least? I don't think that's crazy. I hate this now because it sounds like what I'm trying to do is bail out a quarterback who hasn't been good enough because I was one of those people who was okay moving off of Baker Mayfield. And I know that's what it sounds like to you, and there's no way I'm going to convince anybody of anything different. It's not what's happening in here. I'm just the guy who has to go crazy in a room alone because I know that's what you're going to think. I'm not trying to bail Deshaun out. I'm not. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me at least got to make a throw, though, dude.
Maybe a dash of razzle dazzle.
On Rock 106.9.
Normally Mondays at 8, we talk to Scott from waitingfornextyear.com, now presented by Beavers Marine. End of year fire sale going on right now, 23 and 24 has got to go. Check out those insane prices, beaversmarinestore.com. Scott was in Vegas for the game. It was like a little bit of a travel issue, but like Tuesday at 8. Like, yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Obviously, been talking about that game a little bit yesterday. How could you not? Maddening. 10-point lead. Now, in today's NFL, 10 points is almost nothing, right? You got to, like, really keep your eyes on the screen how fast some of these offenses are, how some of these offenses are out there scoring. So, okay, all right, fine. But that defense is supposed to be a little bit better than that. We've been talking about Deshaun, obviously. The league is about quarterbacks. Win or lose, right? It's kind of like everything's on you. Win, too much credit, lose to the media. Well, like, look, it's something I can do. I don't necessarily think we should be designing more runs for me. I was like, oh, if Anna Baker make all those plays yesterday, I'm not sure about it. Now, I know he made a lot of them with his arm yesterday against the Eagles. He did. And in a weak NFC, there's a chance Baker Mayfield makes the Super Bowl. Depending on who you get Super Bowl, any given Sunday, there's a reason why they play the games. If that should happen, I think even if he makes it, multiple people in the Cleveland Browns organization are going to be fine. The story actually gets a little bit more interesting. Because what could happen? I don't think this is all that likely, but what could happen is Tampa Bay, Minnesota, deciding who's going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield v. Sam Darnold. Now, again, I wanted Sam over Baker in that draft, and now look at Sam. He's like he's the toast of the town right now. 4-0. Got the Vikings humming. He's not getting any credit for it. But again, what makes that story even more interesting? Whose name